Okay, good afternoon, grade 11 STEM. Welcome to our class in General Biology 1. So now, our lesson today is all about describing the structure and function of the major and subcellular organelles. So before we begin, after finishing this lesson or module, you should be able to define what organelles are, identify the major and subcellular organelles in the cell, and describe the structure and function of these organelles. So let's begin. So here's a trivia. Countries are separated by either political or geographical border. Korea's Demilitarized Zone, or DMZ, which was created in 1953, is the most dangerous border in the world. It may be a symbol of the ceasefire between the two countries, but the areas in the north and south of DMZ are still heavily fortified. So how is this related to our lesson today? So think of. Now, let's begin describing what is an organelle. So before that, you can see an illustration of a cell, right? So take note, class, that a cell is the basic unit of life. All living things are composed of cell. And the cell are composed of this so-called organelle. When we say organelle, an organelle is a membrane-bound structure within the cell. Its membrane is similar with the cell's lipid membrane that holds all the cell's components. Each organelle in the cell performs a specific task wherein the combination of this task expresses the overall function of the cell. So as you can see in the illustration, you can notice that you have, or we can see, different colors and structure, right? So those are the organelles of the cell. The 8 major organelles of the cell are the following. We have the cell membrane, the nucleus, the endoplasmic reticulum, the mitochondrion, the Golgi body, the lysosome, the chloroplast, and the cytoskeleton. So these 8 organelles are the major organelles of the cell. So let's start discussing about the cell membrane. So when we say cell membrane, the cell membrane is a biological bilayer membrane composed of the lipids, protein, and carbohydrates. So these are the component of the cell membrane. We have the lipids, protein, and carbohydrates. It separates the cell from the external environment and controls the movement of substances in and out of the cell. So it's just like the border of the North Korea, right? That permits the entry or the in and out of those people who will enter and going out from that country. So take note, class, that you can easily analyze what is a cell membrane. So isipin natin that lipids, proteins, and carbohydrates are the militar from that border. So they are the ones who will govern, or who will try to stop or administer the in and out of foreign object or bodies in and out of the cell. So that is the function of the cell membrane. Again, it is the bilayer membrane and it controls the movement of substances in and out of the cell. So next one is the nucleus. So the nucleus is the most prominent structure in the cells. Why prominent? It is the houses of the cell's genetic information. the DNA, or commonly called as the deoxyribonucleic acid. So within its double membrane structure, you can see the genetic information or the DNA. So this structure also controls the growth and reproduction of the cell. So take note, class, that let's see North Korea. So North Korea governs by their government, and the head of the North Korea is the government. So as just like the nucleus controls everything inside the cell. It governs all the things that happen inside the cell. So take note that the illustration there, that is the circular illustration there, is the nucleus. And take note again that nucleus stores the cell's genetic information and also controls the growth and reproduction of the cells. So why do they control growth and reproduction? Because here they are the one who will start the process of cell division and cell division through meiosis and mitosis. Okay? So we are done discussing about the plasma membrane or the cell membrane. We are done with discussing about the nucleus. Now, let's proceed with the mitochondria. When we say mitochondria, it is a plural form. When we say mitochondrion, it is a singular form. So, when we say mitochondria, it is commonly known as the cell's powerhouse or the powerhouse of the cell. So, bakit tinawag na powerhouse of the cell? It is responsible for the conversion of take note, class, that the mitochondria is also responsible for the conversion of glucose into adenosine triphosphate or ATP through the cellular respiration. Aside from that, ATP is the energy source of all the cellular functions and processes. So why is it called as the cell's powerhouse? So just like the North Korea, it has also powerhouse. So what is this powerhouse? So I am not pertaining to the government, but I am pertaining to the source of energy. So what is the source of energy in this North Korea? So that would be the farmers. So farmers there are the powerhouse, okay? So but in the cells, we can see that the mitochondria is the powerhouse because it produces the adenosine triphosphate through the process of cellular respiration. So the cell would never be living, or it will never live without the mitochondria, because the mitochondria serve as the energy giving part. But why energy giving part? Because it's throughout the entire human body, that specific mitochondria has part in order for us to get energized. Because if we are going to eat food, that food will be moved to different processes, whereas it will be transferred into the cell, and the cell will be tasked to produce this specific ATP for us to have energy. So that is the function of the mitochondria. And take note that the mitochondria is the powerhouse, and it converts glucose, site of cellular respiration, and it is the energy source of the cell. So next is the endoplasmic reticulum. So when we say endoplasmic reticulum, we have two parts, or two types rather. So we have the rough ER and smooth ER. So when we say rough ER, it synthesizes and modifies proteins, like for example, insulin. It synthesizes and modifies protein that are either transported outside the cell or into the plasma membrane. So that is the function of the rough endoplasmic reticulum. How about the smooth endoplasmic reticulum? So when we say a smooth endoplasmic reticulum, it synthesizes lipids and steroids, which are major components of the cell membrane. So they have specific parts, special parts in the cell, because they are able to communicate, or they are able to associate with one another, specifically the plasma membrane, in order to perform their task. Okay? But what do you think is the main difference between the rough endoplasmic reticulum and the smooth endoplasmic reticulum? The main difference between the two is that in the rough endoplasmic reticulum, there is a presence of the ribosome. Ribosomes are attached there, so it is called as rough endoplasmic reticulum. So that would be all. So next is the Golgi body and the lysosome. So lysosome was not mentioned before, but let us discuss the part of the lysosome. So let's start with the Golgi body. So Golgi body is an organelle of stacked membrane disc called cisternae that packs protein from the rough endoplasmic reticulum into small sphere of phospholipid vesicle and secretes them from the cell. So take note, class, that the Golgi body is the manufacturing site, or this the factory, or the manufacturing factory of the cell, because they are trying to they have vesicles. Okay, they are trying to pack proteins in a form of vesicles, and it will be transferred out, or it will be distributed throughout the cell and throughout our body. So that is the function of the Golgi body. So next is the lysosome. So lysosome are portion of the cisternae that breaks down cellular debris and transport them into the cell. So lysosome is commonly called as the suicide bags of the cell, because they are engulfing foreign bodies that would enter the cell itself. So basically, once foreign bodies will enter into the cell, it will immediately engulf, or it will be immediately transferred to the lysosome, and the lysosome will break it into small pieces, and it will be eliminated from the cell. So that's the purpose of the lysosome. So once again, lysosome is the suicide bugs, while the Golgi body is the manufacturing center, or factory, or the packaging center of the cell. So next is we have the chloroplast. So chloroplast is the organelle responsible for photosynthesis. So take note, class, that chloroplast is not present in the animal cell. It only present in the plant cell because it aids for photosynthesis. When we say photosynthesis, a photosynthesis is a process where plants convert the energy from the sun into the glucose. So they contain chlorophyll and other pigments stacked in their thylakoid membrane. So that is the responsibility of the chloroplast. So as you can see in the illustration, so the small stacks there, the small stack there is the thylakoid. So the space between the thylakoid is the stroma. So the stack of different, or of all the thylakoid, is the granum or grana. So that's it. So that's the chloroplast. Next is the cytoskeleton. So just like human, we are not able to uh, cytoskeleton, or in human, we have our framework of the body, right? Which is our skeletal system. But in the cell, they have also framework. Okay, it serves as frame or ang leverage. So this organelle is responsible for the giving the cell its shape and assisting the transfer of materials in and out of the cell. So what specific part of the cell assists the in and out of foreign object or substances? So it will be the cellular membrane or the plasma membrane. So it is composed of three components. We have the microfilaments, the filaments, and the microtubules. So they are being distributed throughout the cytoplasm that will serve as the framework of the cell. So remember, the cell is composed of several membrane-bound components called organelles. And again, organelles are membrane-bound component, okay, of the cell. So each organelle performs a specific task which contribute to the overall functionality of the cell. So the most common organelles found in cells are: first, we have the cell membrane, nucleus, mitochondrion, endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi body, lysosome, chloroplast, and cytoskeleton. So that would be the end of the presentation, and thank you very much for watching. So I hope that you learned something from our discussion. Good luck and God bless to all of you.